In today's special edition of Talking with Teri TV, we're taking you inside my annual event, Unlock Live, and center stage with honorary guest Dr. Lee Weisbard. At this event, we get to support women in business, making real connections and real impact. In this show, Dr. Lee does that by just sharing her personal story and lessons she's learned in elevating her mindset and her business. Enjoy. So could I have Dr. Lee Weisbard come up and join me on the stage?
Thank you all. Okay. Now, the first goal is not to trip on the way to
Yes.
the chair.
Oh my gosh, how did
Number
we
one.
compliment this so well?
Oh,
Look at this. I can't wait to sit.
And I've got my security blanket right here.
Okay, perfect. We're good.
We're good.
Okay, so just tell us about who you are and what you do and
Okay. So my name is Lee Weisbard, and I have a business, Weisbard Dental. I'm a dentist in the Denver Tech Center, and I've been doing it for about 38 years. And I knew I wanted to be a dentist since I was a little girl, like 12 years old. And I've always stood by the motto that I needed to do it my way. So we are a very unique practice. We see each person, spend time with each person, find out what's important to them, and give them information and education so they can make good decisions about their dental health.
I love it. And you're being very humble, but you've actually created a very powerful company. And so for the business perspective, 2% of entrepreneurs will make it to the 7 figures. And just this year or last year, you took your business to a 7-figure business.
We did.
And it was not without challenges.
Well, what I found is that I had reached $1 million a few times over the last 38 years. And I tried to think about what made that year, what was different about that year. And the biggest thing I could find is that I empowered my employees to take ownership. Mm-hmm. I invited them to help us reach that goal, and they had some skin in the game. So what we had is we had a contest. They're on bonus plans, but the big bonus was if we hit $1 million, we were going to Mexico. We were going to go to Cancun. And I'll never forget the day in November, the end of the day, Stacy, my office manager, had the day sheet, and she had a big highlighter, and it said 1 point, whatever that day. And we opened champagne, and we had cake, and we just celebrated, not just that the practice did well, but that all of us as a team did well. And then we went to Mexico about a month and a half ago and just had a really wonderful team building time.
I love it. I love it. So what were some of the biggest blocks that you've had to overcome, just like your personal mindset challenges?
So I would say the biggest block was that fear and scarcity, having that desperation. I need to fill my appointment book. I need to be busy. Oh no, there's nobody on the schedule tomorrow at noon. And I think that, you talk about energy, and you talk about energy that attracts and energy that repels. And I think that's repelling energy. Mm-hmm. When people sense that you're desperate or that you need them, instead of the way it's supposed to be, is that I'm there to be of service. And so once I was able to shift that mindset to one of abundance and to be of service, it was a lot easier. I found that was the biggest shift in my mindset.
Yeah. And going from that, and how many of us can relate to this? Like going from that, place of scarcity. Gosh, I remember when I started out with zero in my bank account. I started day one, zero in my bank. I didn't have capital. I started out with zero. And so it was always like trying to get ahead of that zero, right? And it just took, and it was interesting. So when we did, when I moved and I told you guys 6 months free rent, I'm not kidding. What I did with that is I negotiated 6 months free rent, and I have done it ever since, knock on wood, 6 months free rent. And what I do with that, the first time I got in my business, I took that 6 months, and I was going to pay it anyways, right? So I just took that and I put it into a savings account, and I created my own line of credit until I could get the bank to support me. But that psychologically, I saw that account that had and I think we had like $40,000 in it, and I was like, okay. But it was like a psychological shift.
Absolutely. I understand that. The same thing happened to me. So in the last 12 months, what I started doing is putting a little bit of money aside in an envelope. And then I put another envelope and then another envelope. And before I knew it, I had $60,000 sitting in envelopes.
In cash.
Cash.
In cash.
Nobody knows my address.
At our house. Anyone else? I have cash. I have a sock drawer full of cash. Anyone else? Oh my gosh, where do you guys put it?
In my pinball machine.
In your pinball machine? Literally?
Yeah.
Huh?
So the little drawer opens, where the coins go, and it has a lock.
Oh.
That's our safe.
Oh God. Oh, that's smart. Anyone else? That's random places?
I have a big golden Buddha statue that just has a very small hole in it, so I don't know how much money I've put physical money in there for 5 years. I don't know.
Oh my gosh. Are you gonna have to bust the golden Buddha?
Yeah.
I think that's okay, bless and release. Okay, I feel do the Ho'oponopono say when you do that day.
Okay.
I don't know. I feel like that's oh my gosh. Okay, so so I don't know. Your one of the things that I know about you that has been your personal journey, your personal life has always played a part in that too. But what I've seen in you, even just in the last year, is that has massively shifted. Can you share more about that?
Couple things. Number one, I came from a home with very narcissistic parents, both of my parents. And so I thought that behavior was normal.
Mm-hmm.
So when I looked for mates, the second marriage, I thought that was a normal behavior. So I found that I was triggered very easily because it was always about, how can I please him and what can I do for him? And I was a completely different person in my business and in my personal life. But in reality, I wasn't. Because what happens in your personal life is that energy that you bring to your business. And I think I was bringing that energy into my business. So as good as I might have been at doing dentistry and beautiful work, I still had that underlying attitude and I had those underlying issues that I really wasn't able to deal with. And I was triggered easily. And one of the greatest things that happened is I was in a life-threatening car accident. And I had to have surgery, and then I almost lost my foot. But during that process, I learned something really important. I learned that mind shift. My attitude now is, as I go through my day or my life, I look at things and say, is that a pebble in my pathway, or is it a boulder? If it's a pebble in my pathway, I step over it and move on. I don't dwell about it. I don't worry about it. I don't think about what I should have or could have done. I just move on. And and if it's a boulder, I stop, I evaluate the situation, I make some decisions, and I go left or right. I move. Instead of letting that boulder stop me and suffocate me, I've learned to be able to deal with it and then move around it and move on with what I need to do. So I don't get triggered as easily. I don't worry about all the small stuff because life's too short.
You got to share what happened at Passover, though.
Oh God. So
just the.
Right. So
oh my gosh.
I had 2 incidents. We kosher our home for Passover, and I'm cleaning this glass plate that goes on top of the crisper drawers, and all of a sudden, I'm just holding it. It bursts into a million pieces. And I just stood there and I started to clean it up. Okay, that's one incident. I'm doing okay. And then I had 22 people coming for dinner, and that I'm making brisket, and those pans that are supposed to hold a turkey? Well, it doesn't hold brisket with all the liquid. So I take it out of the oven. I'm holding it with the hot pad holders, and all of a sudden,
350 degrees.
The inside crumbles in, and all the gravy, the vegetables are all over my legs, the floor, all over the kitchen. And my oldest daughter is standing there, and they're screaming because they're worried that I'm burning. No burns. And what's weird is she looked at me and said, "Mom, are you medicated?"
Because you,
I didn't.
because she was,
didn't
because,
get uptight about it.
because, but what normally would, that would have like,
Ruined my Passover.
it would have just been done.
So I cleaned things up.
Are you medicated? Like, that's the best
medicated?
response ever.
So I cleaned it up and moved on because I chose to look at it as a pebble in my pathway. Just take care of the situation and move on. And it was good.
And
It
I
was a
think
good
your
way to
angels
think
were
of things.
definitely protecting you.
Yeah,
Because
no
you were
burns.
because she was barefoot with
Right.
350 degrees. I mean, we have a physician in the room, so is that normal? is that normal?
I'm Jeffrey Bowling, owner and jewelry designer at Jeffrey B. Jewelers, Denver's #1 jewelry design studio. And the reason why we're #1 is because of our 3D custom jewelry design. We can show you what your piece is going to look like way before the end product. And this is going to give you the comfort of knowing you get exactly what you want.
He took me over to the computer and we started drawing up exactly what I wanted. And I told my husband, I'm like, Jeffrey B is the person we're gonna use.
And the other reason is that all of our gold and our diamonds are ethically sourced. So when you're ready to make that proposal, when you're ready for that legacy piece, go to jeffreyb.com and make an appointment. Because when it's love, it's Jeffrey B.
So speaking of getting triggered and, how you can now be like, okay, this is my pebble in my pathway, and versus like where it was before, what would you say is, because that was a version of yourself, right? And now we have this version. What was the transformation? What was the yumminess in the middle?
I think it was a mind shift. Again, looking at the fact that we have choices. We can choose to be upset or angry or hurt, all those negative feelings and emotions, or we can choose to come from abundance and joy and see things in a better light. And I think that mind shift, even just that mind shift, has really helped me in my relationships and in my business.
So it said that we make about 30,000 choices a day. So if you think about like getting up, what shoes am I going to wear? Am I going to take a shower? Am I not going to take a shower? Am I going to do this? Am I going to do that? Like, we are always constantly making choices, and we probably make a good 1,000 choices just to get our heinies out of the home in the morning, right? And so when we think about it as like having these choices, what are we going to choose? Are we going to choose to stay in the doom and gloom, right? Or are we going to choose to see it differently? And I was talking to the most delightful guy, Jake, who's assisting here at the hotel. And I don't know, because I had my mic, I was still on a live mic, and we were in there, and you guys probably heard the conversation. Oh, you didn't? Oh, you did not. Maybe someone's like, oh my gosh, Teri's talking again. In there, and it was just really great because he's like, I'm all about perspective. And I was like, oh my gosh, if you can, come in here, because we're talking about perspective, but it's about this perspective of how do we show up, because we can have the same experience. You can have a different experience. I can have a different experience. And so one of the biggest things for me was, looking at things, and I call them the Shirley shows, okay? The Shirley shows that are happening. And it's like, okay, well, that's one perspective, or can I just find what the gifts are pretty quickly? And so when you start to reprogram our brain to go to the gifts pretty quickly, it's like, oh, okay, this is okay, right? So
Absolutely.
it takes the power and the intensity away from it.
Right. So if my husband says something snarky to me, a few years ago, I might have gotten triggered and say something snarky back, and it starts the cycle. But instead, I choose to not bite that bait and to say something kind. So, give better back. So if something comes at me, I can make the conscious choice of what I want to return.
I love
how
that.
want to
Give better back. Hashtag give better back. Dr. Lee. Okay, so what's one bit of advice you would have given yourself before starting this journey?
I think I wouldn't have sweat the small stuff. I would just say that you can't worry about what could have been or should have been, that you need to sit down, have a plan, have a goal, and if there's something that gets in the way, you have to rethink, redirect, and move along. And I think I would have just done that a lot faster and easier.
Okay, so anything that you would like this audience to know on your journey?
Okay, so I want to just say two things that have really helped me. So somebody once said to me, are you a rock star because you sold a lot of albums, or were you just born that way? Do you need to be justified, or is it down in your heart and you just know it? And I think that was really important to me because in certain aspects of my life, I'm a rock star and I know it.
I feel like that commercial, like, baby, I was born that way. What's the commercial? Maybe it's Maybelline. Maybe it's Maybelline? Yeah. I was just born that way. Wait. Maybe she's born with it. Maybe it's just born with it. Yeah, I love it. Thank you, ladies. But I love it. But yes, we are born that way.
We have to find it in here.
Yeah.
You can't just wait for everybody else to justify it and to tell you. So, yeah.
Yeah,
and the other thing, something recently I heard, I heard something about a Native American blessing. And it really meant something to me. And it said, may you live long enough to know why you were born. And so I go back to my purpose.
Pause for effect.
Sorry.
Repeat that
Okay.
slowly.
May you live long enough to know why you were born. We each come into this world with different gifts and talents, but they're all important, and they can all be used to do better in the world and better for ourselves.
I think that's it. I'm just kidding. That's so good. I love it. Okay, so we're gonna switch gears here a little bit. We're gonna do a laser quick round of questions, but real fast, like 1 or 2 phrases. Okay.
Okay. Got it.
So, greatest lesson ever learned.
Pebbles in my pathway.
Okay. Greatest regret or biggest regret.
Not moving sooner to my beautiful office.
Okay. Biggest success.
Moving to my office.
Greatest role model.
I don't have one role model. I like to take from different people who know more than me, who are smarter than me, and have done more than me, and I take a little bit from each of them.
Love it. Current book that you're reading.
Well, I used to read all these self-help books and all these marketing books, but recently I've gotten into historical fiction, and I'm reading a couple books about Holocaust.
Fascinating. Your word of the year for this year.
My word. I think my word is service. I want to be of service. I want to be the best I can be.
I love it. What do you do to relax and unwind?
I know most people wouldn't think this is relaxing, but I love hockey. So for me, I would go to an Avalanche hockey game. That's what I do.
You're a season ticket holder.
My husband puts "Happy Birthday, Dr. Lee" up on the big screen, and that's it for me.
I love it. I know you go all the time.
Yes.
Your guilty pleasure.
Potatoes, any kind, any way. I have to have French fries. I have to have
potatoes. That is hysterical. I love it. What's your next adventure?
We are going to Africa in the summer. That's been on my bucket list, and it may actually happen this time. I didn't get to go one year because of an accident, then I didn't go because of COVID, and so I think it's going to really happen.
Third time is the charm, right? Okay. Well, I just absolutely adore you. Thank you so much for being you and sharing your wisdoms, your tips, and where can people connect with you and find you?
So weisbarddental.com, or I'm on Facebook, Instagram. Where else? Let's see.
All the other places.
LinkedIn.
Oh, there's Andrew. Look at Andrew, like popping in. Yeah, I love it.
I would love it. If anyone has any questions, please call. I love just sitting down and talking. So if you have anything you just want to talk about, you can look me up, call me, and I give everyone my cell phone number. Patients have my cell phone number, people I work with, vendors. I just think it's really important to connect and contact with each other.
I love it. Do we have any questions? Yes.
I'd like to share a testimony.
Oh, okay.
Is that okay?
Oh, look at this. Yes, of course. Let's run the mic to you. Can I get to, thank you so much.
So I don't always get to do this, but probably 5 or 6 years ago, I had an issue with a tooth, and one of my colleagues said, "You've got to go see Dr. Weisbard. She's the best." And so I went in. shortly after noon, and she does exactly what she says she does. There was all kinds of pictures and analysis and information, and she said, go have something to eat, come back, and we'll sit in my conference room. So she's got a really beautiful conference room with a television screen there, and she just very gently and carefully went through everything she had learned about my mouth. And there were some huge issues. And so she said, we're just going to start slowly, one at a time, but this issue is bothering you today. So actually, I have a couple hours open on my calendar today. Would you like to start now? So I took a deep breath, went in, and we got started on something that I've never experienced, and that was getting one of my teeth ready for a crown, which is not a fun ordeal. But she helped me through that. I had my daughter come because I was nervous and there were tears and I had never been through this before. But I've accomplished 3 sets of crowns. So I've done, and she even had to tell me when I came in for the bottom one that I had already had the top ones done because I was so nervous. I'm like, oh, you're going to do the top one today, right? And she's like, well, no, we did. Now see, look in the chart. We did this one and we did this one. So we're going to do this one today. So I've got 3 of the 4 done. But I said to her just a few minutes ago, you've changed. I said, you are so much more compassionate, so much more empathetic. You touch me and make me feel like everything's going to be okay. They had to bring me oxygen one day because I was hyperventilating and about passed out. I get the squeeze balls when the drilling's going on to just take the thing. And the best thing of all, she figured out how to keep me from gagging during my x-rays. For 40 years, I've gagged during my x-rays. The last time I was in, she said, Judy, just lift your left leg up and think about lifting your leg up. And I made it through the x-rays. So anyway, I just had to share my story because you don't always get a chance to experience such a long journey with one person on something that's difficult to deal with. So thank you, Dr. Weisbard.
So at the break, I witnessed this conversation taking place in real time. And Judy was so adorable because she's absolutely terrified of the dentist. And so the fact that you got up and shared this testimony is a big deal. So thank you for going forth with that. So talk about facing fears, right?
Thank you.
Thank you. So thank you, Dr. Lee, for sharing and just being you. Thank you so much, honey. Thank you for joining me on this special edition of Talking with Teri TV. In business, we're always trying new ways to create lasting impact. In life, we're always looking for what makes us happy. The beauty is having them both. As always, be bold, be brave, be fearless, be the magic of you. Massive love. Thank you for joining me today. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Make sure you hit that notification bell to find out about my upcoming shows. Thank you for tuning in today, and I'll see you next time.